Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Roundtable. I know it's been a minute, y'all, but I had to get my life reorganized, okay? Sometimes we bite off a little too much than we chew, and life happens, and I had to reprioritize. But I am back, and I'm excited to be back with such a special guest on this evening. If y'all know who I am, I'm Sandra B. I am the host of the Roundtable. I'm also a financial specialist in the insurance space. I've been doing that for almost 10 years now. But this is something that I love to do because I love to network with other people and bring you all valuable information in different industries outside of what I know about. So tonight we will be talking about mentorship. And this young lady, I don't know, I think she's on my right, but she might be on your left. But this young lady is the mentor of the mentors. Okay. So tonight is more than a mentor because the village still matters. So with no further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Miss Cheryl Blakeney and let her introduce and tell y'all who she is. Cheryl.
Well, thank you, Miss Sandra B. And I'm Cheryl Blakeney, but sometimes Sandra B refers to me as Cheryl B.
Cheryl
So
B.
a little bit about me. I am a senior accountant. I've been in the industry for more than 4 decades as an accountant. I'm also a financial and educational specialist, and I have been a mentor for more than 2 decades, which is so near and dear to my heart. So I actually mentor young ladies that actually come from lower income families that cannot afford to go to college. Very deserving young ladies. So, like I said, over the last 24 years, I have mentored 10 young ladies, very deserving to have that college experience. I'm so excited to be here to tell you my story when it comes to mentoring, because I always tell people mentoring, it doesn't matter how old you are, everybody can use a mentor. You can be 8 or you can be 88. It doesn't matter. Somebody there in your corner to cheer you on. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm ready to get started. Thanks, Sandra.
Yes, thank you, Cheryl B. Look, if y'all are watching, just drop in the chat where you're watching from so we can shout you out. And don't forget, this is interactive. We're bringing the information, but we want to make sure that we are bringing value information that you want to know about. So if you have a question pertaining to this topic, feel free to drop it in the chat and we'll answer that question as we see it. Okay. So everybody want to know, at least I know I want to know, what inspired you initially to start mentoring younger girls?
Okay. Well, it's so funny because I didn't actually start as a mentor. So back in 2001, I'm in Seminole County, Florida. So I started with a program called Master Academy Tutoring for the kindergartners. Never knew you had to tutor kindergartners. And so I found out through that foundation that they had a mentoring program, and it's actually called Take Stock in Children. It's in the state of Florida, but I actually worked with the Seminole County chapter. So I always wanted, originally I wanted to be a math teacher. So, when they talked about mentors, like, man, this is my way to be able to give back and still do my accounting. So that's how I actually found out about the mentoring program. Like I said, I didn't start there, but it actually all started in 2001.
Wow. That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that kindergartners needed mentors either. But look, you did just say it. No matter how old you are, you need a mentor. So it definitely makes sense. Did you have a mentor growing up? And if not, how did that shape your desire to become one?
I did not have a mentor. I mean, my parents were always there for me, but I didn't have a mentor per se. But I think for me, I always tell people part of my DNA is, I love to give back. I love to help people. From the age of 9, I have 6 siblings, and I was the big sister. So I guess I was mentoring my siblings. But I always wanted to be able to help people, and it's just followed me through all these years. So,
Right.
being a mentor, I think is so important. Like I said, it doesn't matter what age you are. So that actually got my desire to be a mentor, to be able to give back, because my pastor always tells us, we will not put on this earth for us. We will put on this earth for others. And if I can't help you, what resource can I find to help you? So like I said, it's part of my DNA and part of who I am. Anybody that knows me know I love to be able to give back to people.
Oh, that's what it's all about. You know, I know one of my pastors said, love is love until you give it away. You know,
Mhm.
you don't need to gatekeep it. Gotta give it away. So, you recently got an award. You always getting awards though. Let me look. I'm gonna brag if she don't. I don't know all the name of the awards, but when I'm on my timeline, I be seeing Sarah B just got an award for this Mentee of the Year, Mentor of the Year, and you just recently got one where I know you were named Mentor of the Year. Tell
Mhm.
us about that.
Okay. So I was actually named Mentor of the Year for my county. Okay. So what happens is once you're named Mentor of the Year for your county, all the information gets sent up to the state. So all the information, was sent up to the state of Florida. And then back in February of this year, I found out that I was actually selected Mentor of the Year for the whole state of Florida.
Wow,
I'm
oh, that's so sweet.
excited.
You,
It
yeah.
was so exciting because, like I tell people, I don't do this for the accolades. I do it because I love what I do. I love to be able to give back. So being Mentor of the Year, it just, cemented it, I guess. But just to be able to give back, to give back to these young ladies, because like I said, they're so deserving. They work really, really hard. And I always tell people, why should they not be afford the education to go to college just because the income from their family is not affordable, and so I think, having this program has been such a avenue for these young ladies, knowing that, man, after 4 years, I might, and a lot of them are first generation. A lot of them are first generation, the first one in their family to be able to get a college degree. And also what's so important for me with these young ladies is I give back, and then some of them turn around and end up being a mentor themselves because they know the importance of the program.
Wow. When I hear that, I think about impact. You know,
Yeah.
like I said, a lot of people do things, and you said you don't do this for the accolades. You do this because it's actually making a meaningful difference in the community, and to be recognized on a state level for any state is great. But like I said, Florida is huge, so to go and get recognized here for the state is that's a it's impactful. You know, I don't see it as a like a title, like, oh, that means this or that. To me, I just see impact. And for you to mentor young girls and then they want to be mentors too,
Mhm.
that's very special.
Yeah, and yeah, even in like the county that I live in, I had a chance to be on a magazine. I had a chance to be on the local news station. I mean, I felt like a celebrity.
Look, I tell people all the time, we can be celebrities because celebrities sometimes don't even make the impact that normal people make,
Mhm.
because they're
Mhm.
not reachable. They
Right.
may inspire people, but it's different. You can actually make an impact on people's
Mhm.
lives. And you're
Mhm.
doing something great. And I'm glad you're being recognized for it.
Yeah. Thank
That's
you.
What was one of the biggest challenges that girls face today that most adults overlook?
I think the biggest challenges for the young ladies that I mentor is most of them come in with low self-esteem because
Mhm.
like I said, they don't feel that they're worthy to be able to go to college. So for me, and I start with them in ninth grade all the way to 12th grade. So that first year is like opening up. A lot of them, it's kind of reserved. It's just like, I don't want to talk to her. I don't know her. I don't know who she is. Um, but what's so funny is, so like I said, I've been mentoring for the last 24 years. It'll be 25 years when I start in August. So
Oh,
my last name is Blakely. I have been Mrs. B for the last 24 years because my students, they always mess up my last name. They said, is it okay we call you Mrs. B? Even the people part of the organization call me Mrs. B.
look, it's always look when you get an official nickname. I feel like getting there.
So I
Oh,
think some of the challenges are, building up their confidence in them. I always say, I'm going to put in the belief in them until they can believe in themselves. So I think that's the challenge. Having that low self-esteem is like, you know what, you got this, you can do this. Some of them struggle with, I love math. Most people know I love math. I had a student, she struggled with math the whole 4 years of high school. But I said, you know what? Math is one of those subjects you just have to study. It's not like science and English and reading, and stuff like that. It's one of those subjects you just have to study. So I just kept telling her name was, we called her Natalia. We called her Natty. But I said, you just have to study, you just have to practice over and over. And she's like, I know, Miss B, I know, Miss B. But how I know I made an impact, when she graduated from high school, she had to take a remedial algebra class in college, her first year of college. She called me when she finished that semester in December. Now, I know you're in South Carolina, right, Sandra B?
I'm in North Carolina.
North Carolina. Okay. So she called me and she said, Mrs. B, I just want to let you know I passed my algebra class. I said, well, that's great. But she said, no, I passed it with an A. So I don't know if you heard me screaming in North Carolina, but I know my next door neighbors heard me screaming because I know the impact that I made on her. I was so excited for her, and she just graduated last year from the University of North Florida with her 4-year degree.
Oh,
that was so exciting for me. So, it's not like they say, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So
that's awesome. I wouldn't know what to do if something like that happened. Like how many girls do you think you've mentored?
Well, I know exactly. I've mentored 10 young ladies over the last 24 years. Right now, I have 2 juniors that's still in high school. So 8 has graduated, went on, graduated from college. I have 1 young lady. She just turned 35 in April. I had her when she was 15. I am still in her life through her marriage, through her son just turned 16 years old.
Oh my God.
So I knew her son when he was born. He's now 16. I'm just like, where did the time go? So yeah, it's just so exciting knowing that I've been in their life. Like I said, I feel like I adopted 10 daughters in addition to my 2 over the last 24 years. So I've been in their life. Actually, one of my students, one of my mentees said, Mrs. B, you're going to be in my life for the rest of my life. When I get married, when I have kids, when I start my new job. She lives in South Carolina and I'm still in her life. Her daughter just graduated from kindergarten.
Oh, and I love that because, this is the ongoing thing, and to be able to be in somebody's life and have that impact for a lot of time. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I can't even find the word to say it. But that's a beautiful thing. Now, I know you may have heard she said she's been doing this for 24 years and mentoring 10 girls, but this is not her full-time job. Okay, so let me just make that clear. She has a full-time job, a career, okay? So she does this outside of that and outside of business, okay? So y'all that think y'all ain't got no time to do something or to do stuff, Miss Cheryl B is showing y'all that there is time. If it's a priority for you, that you want to do, you make time. And she's with her little grandbaby because she's a grandbaby.
It's so important. Like I said, you're right. I do work a full-time job. I actually work 4 10-hour days. And actually, I get my mentoring in during my lunchtime. Sometimes I go during my work time. My manager is so accommodating. I don't have to make up the time. I'm going for like 30 minutes. And it's just so rewarding knowing that, I have a manager that's there in my corner as well. And actually, I'm recruiting him starting in August for this year.
I know that's right. Look, you leveraging that circle, honey. Leverage that circle. I know you have to advocate for these girls a lot. And like I said, some of them come in without the confidence. So can you remember a specific time you had to advocate for a girl when others didn't believe in her? And what happened?
Yeah. So actually, so with this program, we have, you can go on probation, you can go on warning status and things like that, because in the program, you have to maintain a 2.5 GPA. You have to meet with your mentor from August until May, once a week, mandatory workshops, no out of school suspension. So I had a young lady that she ended up, and you have like probation 1, 2, and 3. Once you get to 3, they literally can kick you off the program. So this lady, she actually got to probation 3, but but because she had some struggles at home, because that happens as well. They have struggles at home. They're trying to figure out, now how to maneuver and things like that. So I kept telling her, so we put together a plan between the parent, myself, and then the coordinator for the mentors. And once we got that on track, she was able to go from a probation 3 all the way down to active status, graduated on time in her senior year, and was able to receive the scholarship. So that was, to me, the most exciting thing, to go from probation 3, because like I said, she was on the verge of being kicked off the program.
Right.
But we worked together between the parents and the mental coordinator, and she was able to keep her scholarship, graduate. And she was the first one in her family to graduate from college. To graduate from high school.
That's awesome.
First one and to graduate from high school. Her parents, her brother was older. He didn't, but she was the first one. And I was there in the audience with tears, literally tears coming down my face, knowing what she went through, but she managed to do it.
Right. That's beautiful. And sometimes, people don't have anybody else to believe in them. You could be that only person that helped, and back to, about the title, the village still matters. We have to pour into the children. They are the next generation of leaders. Like, they're going to be running things. And if we're not pouring into them and teaching them that they can do the things that they want to do, they're not going to end up doing anything.
Right.
It is so easy to give up than it is to apply yourself. And all they do is a little belief. And so I love what you do. I really love what you do. Next question. How do you help girls find their voice in a world that often tells them to be quiet?
Okay. So like I said, I'm there to instill the belief in them until they can believe in themselves. So, I had some young ladies, it's like trying to break open an egg, like peel the egg one layer at a time.
Right.
So some of them, some young ladies, they just open up like I knew them forever. And then some, it took a little bit more because, like I said, it could have been stuff going on at home. They didn't feel comfortable with me, whatever the situation was. But like I told you, I'm there as a cheerleader, cheer them on, you got this, you can do this. So even they felt, actually I had a situation, I had a young lady and she was always into photography. She did photography for the whole 4 years of high school. And she wanted to go into graphic design. No, she didn't want to go into graphic design, but that's what her parents wanted her to do. So when she started going to different college tours and stuff like that, she's like, Mrs. B, I don't want to do graphic design. That's not what I want to do. I love photography. And actually she now has her own photography studio.
Right.
But her parents kept saying, do graphic design, you're going to get further. So I spoke with her. I said, do we need to sit down together to talk with your parents to let them know? Because sometimes as parents, we live our dreams through our children, because we didn't get the opportunity to do that. So, and she said, no, Mrs. B. So she was able to talk with her parents and she ended up going to school for photography and emerging design, which is a little bit of graphic design, is all different types of design, but not just graphic design. And like I said, now she has her own photo studio and I'm so, so excited for her. So yes.
That's so beautiful to be able to go through the journey with these kids, like, and go through adulthood and everything.
Right.
You're making such a wonderful impact, and they're never going to forget that, And I'm sure they're probably telling their kids, like, it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding. So some people may say, because these aren't your children that you're mentoring, right? These are just people's kids. So people may say, that's not my child, not my child, not my problem. What is your response to that mindset?
To me, that mindset is a very limited mindset. Okay. Because like you said, it takes a village to raise a child, any child. I have 4, well, they're now adults, but 4 children, but it does take a village to raise a child. So it does, just because they're not your child biologically, and you might see them going through something. So we need to be there. We need to be there as adults to comfort them, So they might not be a child. Like I said, I feel like these young ladies are all my daughters. I literally feel like they're all my daughters because I've been with them for, like I said, the 4 years of high school, the 4 years of college. Um, some of them I've been with them from day one for like the last 20 years. So I don't think, as adults, just because it's not your child biologically, as adults, we should be there to help, somebody else's child, not to spoil them or anything like that, but just to be there. Okay, what can I do to help you? Well, I'm not understanding English or whatever it is. Well, have you thought about getting a tutor? Do you do extra credit? Do you stay after school for extra work? And things like that. So I don't think because a child is not your child that you should say that's not my problem.
I definitely agree with that. Because those kids, even for me, like if I see other kids, like my kids will be around these kids, I can't control how other kids act, but at the same time, if you never know, you might just say something to another child and it can really go a long way. Right. I don't have a problem if a child is in my vicinity and they're doing what they're supposed to do. I don't have a problem nicely correcting them. Not because I think the parent do, because it's not a judgmental thing. It's just I'm gonna do my part. If I saw you do wrong, I'm gonna say something to educate you on that. If your parent goes by, go get your parent. But people have gotten away from it takes a village. Everybody wants to focus on self, but we all have to we have to coexist with everybody else. If we only focus on ourselves, how do we make the community better?
That's true. That's true.
Definitely a mindset thing. Well, kind of touch on this. We can elaborate a little bit more. What role should community and schools play in mentorship?
Yeah, well, especially communities. As far as mentorship, because like I said, everybody can use a mentor. But for me, because our program is actually school-based, which I really love the program because it's school-based. And I actually get to go see if they're in a play, if they're a dancer, if they're a cheerleader. I get to go and see like some of the things that they do. So I'm there to, encourage them. I actually had a young lady, she was Hispanic and she was very timid. And I said, but her GPA was like 4.4, 4.8. And I said, well, you need to apply for the Spanish Honor Society. But so, I was able to talk with her and we talked with her parents and she was able to apply and she ended up being the president for that year for the Spanish Honor Society. Because like I said, sometimes they just don't have that belief that they can do it. She never had a leadership role, so as far as mentorship with the school, especially the school system that we're in here in Florida, they actually push mentorship through the Take Stock in Children program. So it really, really do make a difference in this program.
Wow. There is, I know I said it 1,000 times. It really is. I mean, I love helping people. And it's like, it's so many things I would love to do, and it's like, we can't do everything, but making an impact on just one person is it's worth it, the program that you have through the school, they sign up for this program.
So the program is called Take Stock in Children, and the county I work is in Seminole County. So the application goes out to 8th grade, to all the 8th grade schools actually in the state, for anyone that's on free and reduced lunch. So we send out anywhere between 1,000 and 2,000 applications a year. Okay. They apply for the program. And so they have to do like a why this scholarship is important to them. The parents have to do a letter why they think is important, why it's important for their child to get the program. And then it narrows down from anywhere between 2,000, it narrows down to about 200. And then we do a interview selection process. Of that 200, we narrow it down to 50. After we narrow it down to 50, we actually do an interview, a panel interview. I'm part of that panel interview. And you have these young people in 8th grade and you have three adults, interviewing them. And
Nerve-wracking.
yeah. So they do the interview, and you record the answers and everything, and then they compile that, and then we have to take a certain amount from certain demographics. So once that's all compiled, and then from the 50, we actually narrow it down to 25. So now for 25-26 school year, we have 25 new freshmen that's coming onto the program. So it's a
Wow.
process, and it starts with an application for any child that's on free and reduced lunch in the state of Florida.
That's good. I don't know if we got anything like that here, but
Mhm.
that's definitely something good that y'all are doing down there for kids.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
Yes.
How do you create safe spaces where these girls can be real and vulnerable?
Okay. I always tell my young ladies, I'm not a parent. I'm not your teacher. I'm not a guidance counselor. I'm just here as a listening ear. So, feel free to open up to me, whatever it is. I mean, sometimes even when I go mentoring, we just end up talking about my grandbabies or their brothers and sisters. I mean, it's just so laid back. But like I said, as far as like the mentorship, you know, they have to meet with us every week, from August to May. But sometimes it's just so laid back. But we actually have a toolkit. It's called a mentor toolkit. So they have icebreakers, things that they can, they have SMART goals they do over the break. I have them work on a vision board over over the winter break, and it's just things. And some of them just put pictures on there. Some of them are very creative with words, pictures, and things like that. So it's just so even though I'm mentoring them, they also find out about me, because some of the questions in the toolkit, I ask them questions like something like, if you had $1,000, where would you want to go spend it at? Okay. And then I answer the same question. So they're getting both sides. I'm getting information about them, and they're getting information about me. So it goes two ways.
And I love that because I'm a firm believer of two-way streets. I don't even like driving down streets that got a one-way sign. Like, why can't I go this way? So relationships, all of that, alignment, partnerships, it has to be a two-way street because you have to give some to take some. Nobody is going to just tell you about them if you ain't telling them about yourself. So
Right.
I love that.
Right.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
What's the most common misunderstanding people have about the mentorship work that you do?
I think the common misconception or misunderstanding is I have to put a lot of time. Like I said, I do 30 minutes a week. It doesn't take you. What can you do for 30 minutes? You can go out to a restaurant. You can go walking for 30 minutes. But that 30 minutes is now actually focusing on someone that can use your help, or that can, use your guidance. So I think the misunderstanding is I don't have time. We all have 30 minutes. It might be 30 minutes a week. It might be 30 minutes every other week, but do something when it comes, even if it's not mentorship, just giving back in the community. I tell people you can give 30 minutes a day, 30 minutes a week, 30 minutes a year, but give back to somebody to know that you're making a difference, at least in one person. It ain't got to be 10, 20, 25, 50 people, one person, knowing that you can make a difference in that one person, and you don't know who that one person is going to be.
This is very inspiring because, for one, a lot of people, when they think or want to do something, they think of it on such a large scale. They feel like, well, if I can't help the thousands, then I may as well not do it.
Right.
But if you could just help one person, y'all, that is so impactful. That's one less person that has to struggle with what the rest are struggling with, and you're able to take away from that, because when you're helping other people, you learn a lot about yourself. I know I do. I learned a lot about being a mom. My kids, they taught me things that I didn't know that I could deal with. So it's a learning experience for both. And at the same time, you're both learning and growing together. So, gosh, man, I ain't gonna say it up here, but I'll tell you later because this has really inspired me.
Okay.
If you could shake the system and change one thing about how girls are supported in this country, or I'll just say for your state, what would it be?
I think if I can change one thing, especially, for young ladies, is we all need each other.
Mm,
So I think if I can change the concept of this country, we all need each other. We didn't come into this world by ourselves,
right.
you know. So why not be there to be there for one another? And like I said, if I can't help you, let me see what resources I can find to help you. So I think, supporting young ladies, even for male mentors, because our program is male on male and female on female.
Mm,
So for me, to change the system as far as how, we can support these young men or young ladies, I think just being able to be there, just be a listening ear, just be a listening ear,
right.
because sometimes they might not want to talk about things to their parents, or something like that, just like the young lady about the graphic design. She was scared because, Mrs. B, I don't know how to say it, but she was able to, she was finally able to talk with her parents. And that's why
Right.
I said, do we need to talk together? So that's why I was there to be able to support her if she needed my guidance. But she was able to figure it out on her own. And then, like I said, she's now doing amazing things.
That's so good. Have you ever had a girl that you tried to mentor and
Mhm.
it just didn't work?
No, you know what? I've never had, and I think because of my personality and who I am, so
Yeah.
I've never came. I mean, because we had some situations like mentors didn't work with mentees. I've
Okay.
never had that situation because I think because I'm so laid back, I'm so positive. I love to give back, and it's who I am, and I think that makes a difference. So I've never had any problem. It's so funny because um, someone had told me, not one of my mentees, but somebody had. I think they were friends. It's like, man, I wish Mrs. B was my mentor, and she didn't even know me. But I guess maybe the things that her friend was telling her, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
Right.
wow, that made me feel good. So I've never had that situation because, like I said, I'm there for these young ladies to support them the whole 4 years of high school.
That's awesome. And everybody needs that. Like it's good to have your parents, it's good to
Yeah.
have your friends, but to have somebody that does not, already connected to you
Mhm.
to help you.
Right.
For one, it's a different level of relationship. You
Hmm.
know, as a parent, I can try to mentor my child. It's probably not going to go well, but I can mentor somebody else's child, and it's going to go very well because they don't have any preconceived,
Right.
anything about me. We're both going in open-minded to learn
Hmm.
about each other and how we can help one another. So man, I love this. I'm gonna have to pray about what I'm thinking right now, but you got me thinking.
Hey.
Man, you got me thinking. I wish I was down there in Florida. So I know you got your day job. I know you got your business. But as far as this mentorship, you've been doing this for a long time, and you seem to be very committed to it.
Mhm.
You're winning Mentor of the Year awards. You're on magazines. You're doing interviews at the news station. You just blowing up. What is your end game for with the mentorship?
I think for me, because I love it, I love what I do, I'm going to continue and also recruiting. So, like I said, I actually recruited my manager, and he's going to be starting in August. I actually recruited another young lady from my job. She just went through the fingerprinting, and she's really excited. I mean, and just to know that they're excited about it. So my end game is to continue to do what I do, to make an impact on these young ladies, knowing that I'm there in their life, literally for the rest of their life. And just knowing it's not, once they graduate from high school, that's it. It just continues, like I said, through their birthdays, through their marriages, through their career, their children. And like I said, the one young lady, her son just turned 16. I literally was there when he was born. So like, it's just amazing.
Right, gosh, and to see the growth. I've been I have a mentor, I got an accountability partner. I also have a therapist, and that therapist is kind of like all of those wrapped in one, but a
Mhm.
whole lot more what you call it. It's deeper. But
Right.
over the few years that we've been working with each other, I've
Mhm.
seen my therapist growth, and my therapist have also seen my growth. And when
Mhm.
you are trying to help somebody, the best reward is seeing that it's working. You
Right.
know, somebody wants to be mentoring or training somebody for years and
Mhm.
it ain't going nowhere. It's a waste of both people's time. So the
Mhm.
fact that you're able to do this in your spare time, and be so impactful, I can only imagine if this was what you did 40 hours a week. You'll probably drive yourself crazy, first of all, because there'll be too many little girls. But I love it, man. I love it. Is there anything that you want to say that I did not touch on or that you want people to know about what it is that you do?
Okay. Um, like I said, it doesn't matter where you are, who you are, what you do. Mentors are so important because these young people, they are our future. So why not be part of their future as well? If you're listening from the state of Florida, I'm recruiting
Yeah.
for Stocking Children, Seminole County. We are looking for mentors. We just brought on 30 new students, 30 new freshmen for the school year. They will need mentors. So, but it doesn't matter if you're in another state, if you have any type of program as far as mentorship, take advantage of it because it's so priceless, it's so rewarding knowing that you're going to leave an impact on these young people for years and years. I mean, years to come, years to come. So that's how I'm going to end it. Mentorship is a very priceless, rewarding program. And, I feel it in my heart knowing that I'm making a difference in these young ladies' lives.
Wow. And I love it. I don't know these little girls, but I'm happy for these little girls that they're connected to Cheryl B. Everybody needs a Cheryl B in their life. Look, if y'all, how can they connect with you if they want to, reach out for that or anything else?
Yeah, well, I'm on Facebook. I'm also on LinkedIn. So they can connect with me there on LinkedIn, on Facebook. If they want more information, we actually have on Facebook, we have a Facebook group for Take Stock in Children, Seminole County. You can go on there if you want more information. Once you click on there, and I also can connect you with I can also connect them with their mentor coordinator if they're interested. Like I said, recruiting, I'm definitely there for this mentorship because, like I said, these young people, they need a mentor, to get them through, especially when they're first starting high school. That's a journey. You're going from middle school, you're now in high school, your first year of high school. It's a journey, So I see the growth from 9th to 12th grade. Actually, every year, what I do is I take a picture every year, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. I save it and I send it to my students. And you can see the difference in their hairstyles, everything from the
That's everything, right?
from the time they started until the time they're finished. And like I said, I'm there to support them if they have any type of, like, I have one young lady, she's in chorus. She invites me to her chorus programs, theater. I've been to basketball games, I've been to football games, I had dancers and things like that. So
Right.
being a mentor to support your child as well, outside of just being a mentor. If they have things going on, they invite you, be there for them because they look out in the audience and they see you like, wow, my mentor is here. It's just exciting for them to know that they took their time to come actually see you. So, yep.
Right. The
Mhm.
support goes a long way, and it's obvious that you are passionate about what you do,
Mhm.
and that just probably makes it don't feel like you're working because everything that you do, you're doing it with love. You love numbers, you love mentoring, and you love helping people. So it's a win-win-win all the way around. And this was good. Like I said, you have definitely inspired me, and my brain is churning right now.
Okay. I
Listen,
inspired
uh,
other people out there that's listening on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. I hope I inspired you as well. Like I said, one person, you can make a difference in one person's life. And that's all it takes, just one person.
that's all it takes, and it's that simple. Just start with one person, and you never
Mhm.
know where it will go.
Right.
So y'all, I hope y'all enjoyed this information that she come out of her evening to share with us. I know I did. And if you have a topic or if you or know somebody that wants to be on the podcast, send me an email at join the round table cheryl.info@gmail.com. If you want to connect with my guests, you catch the information, send me an email. I can connect y'all on social media. And that goes for her or any other guest that may have been on my show. So again, Cheryl B, I appreciate you. I know what you do, but I really learned a whole lot more about the impact that you're making in these girls' lives. And it's much needed. So keep doing what you're doing and keep it making a big impact on these women's lives. Hold on, we got a comment. Okay, there go Erica. Hey, girl. I love it. Look, the new time is first and third Fridays, guys. So I won't be back next Friday, but I will see y'all back in a couple of weeks. And stay tuned. I got more hot guests to come. And Cheryl B, thank you again. And I hope you enjoy your evening.
Thank you, Sonia B. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And with that, we are out.